Thank you so much, Leslie, for the kind words. I'm already in tears. I haven't even gotten started yet. um, thank you. I feel really honored to be asked. I have no idea what I'm going to say. I have been praying about it and just decided I would just leave it up to the powers that be, that whatever comes out of my mouth is supposed to. So let's see, where do I start? I guess I should start with my credentials for why I get to speak on this meeting to the alumni, because it's not because I work here. It's because I am a recovering codependent, a recovering adult child of alcoholic, and a recovering nicotine addict. Those are my credentials, if you will. And I do my best to work these principles in all my affairs. When I say to you that the 12 steps of recovery, regardless of one's A that you go to, you know, because we've got an A organization for everything these days. But whichever A you go to, the 12 steps are the 12 steps, and the 12 principles are the 12 principles. And they have saved my life. They have truly saved my life. So why would I say that? Well, where do I begin? I guess I should begin with the fact that from my very first boyfriend on, they were all either children of alcoholics or alcoholics themselves. Go figure, right? I did not realize, I say I'm an ACOA, but please understand, I never actually lived with an alcoholic until I got married. So how could I possibly say I'm an ACOA? Well, my biological father was an alcoholic. However, my parents split when I was 2, so I never actually remember living with him. Who I did live with was a raging codependent. That's who I did live with. And so my codependency traits are the ones that prepared me for attracting into my life people who were addicted, who were both my best friends, and certainly all of the men that I was ever attracted to were always people who were either, like I said, ACOAs themselves, or they were people who were in active addictions. And I started that when I was really, really young. I mean, truly, like the very first person I ever had a crush on, I later found out that he too became an alcoholic. So that has been a part of my life forever, for literally forever. I picked up smoking when I was 14 years old. I picked up cigarettes. Actually, I picked them up when I was 12, but they became a daily habit by the time I was 14. Why did I pick them up? Because I couldn't stand being in my own skin. Being in a codependent home, being who you were was not okay. There were certain expectations, and one of those was that I should smile and be happy all the time. And if I wasn't, I should be. So I learned at a very, very, very young age to start pushing those emotions down, to pretend I was happy when I wasn't, to pretend everything was okay, even though I didn't think it was, to never admit that I was ever angry, because me being angry was never acceptable. If I was hurt, it was okay to cry for a minute, but that was about all, because my mother, who had God bless her, had no idea how to deal with her own emotions, certainly couldn't teach me how to deal with mine. Not because she didn't love me, but rather because she didn't have the skills. She just didn't know how. So she smoked hers away as well. So by the time I was 12, I had learned really well how to not feel anything but happy. And if I was on the verge of anything that wasn't happy, to smoke it away. And nicotine did a really fine job for me. So by the time I was 14, I was smoking a half a pack to a pack a day. In terms of my chemical dependency on nicotine, by the time I finished with that, which thank God, at this point has been 23 and a half years, for which I am incredibly grateful, I was smoking between 2 to 3 packs a day. I'm not sure how I made time to smoke 2 to 3 packs a day, but I somehow managed to do that. I remember in terms of my chemical dependency, I remember leaving my daughter asleep in bed at 9:45 at night and running to the closest store to get a pack because I was afraid I might possibly run out. Maybe some of y'all can relate to doing something like that with other chemicals. For me, it was nicotine. I literally did not feel like I could get through a moment if I did not have access to cigarettes. But ironically, what brought me to my bottom was not nicotine. It was my codependency. My codependency took me to a place that was very dark and to a place that I wasn't sure at that time I would be able to recover from. It robbed me of every bit of self-respect that I had. I did stuff that I never dreamed I would do. I was lying to everybody that was important in my life because I did not want them to see how I was really living. I was so filled with shame and guilt. I was so emotionally unavailable that my 7-year-old daughter chose to live with her alcoholic father rather than be with her crazy codependent mother. That should tell you something. I was in a really bad space. And basically I abandoned her and moved away in order to try to have this man fill me up because I had no clue how to do that myself. I wanted so much to feel special, to feel loved, to feel important. That was really, I was willing to sell my soul to get it, which of course never works out well, to say the least. A few years into that relationship, I truly believe that no matter how much pain and how insane I got, Spirit had my back because I never wanted to work in the field of addictions. Never, never. I was a mental health counselor. That's where I was going to stay because I did not want to work with a bunch of junkies and drunks. That was my mindset at that time. But I got desperate because I couldn't find a job when I moved to Pennsylvania. And as it happened, a halfway house had a job available, and I, out of sheer desperation, went and applied because I needed income. And Bruce Caldwell hired me. And I swear to this day, he hired me because he could tell how royally effed up I was. And I became his pet project. Because he was in recovery from addiction. He was not in recovery from his codependency yet. He hadn't gotten that far. So he hired me. And within 4 months, I came to work one day, sat down, started crying, and did not stop crying the entire day. I literally fell apart. I was in such a dark place. All I wanted to do was die, but I was in too much pain to do that. And Bruce knew exactly what was going on with me. And he says, I'm going to call a friend and have him take you to an Alumni meeting. I was crying and sobbing and, being the person I was in that moment. And I was willing to agree to anything that had a snowball's chance in hell of ending my pain. And I ended up at an Al-Anon meeting that Friday afternoon, or that Friday evening rather. And honest to God, it was the first time in my 32 years that I ever felt at home and at peace. I felt like I had finally found a place where people understood me and where it was just okay to be me. And my memory is that I sat through that entire meeting and did nothing but cry because I was so relieved to finally be somewhere that felt like home. My sponsor swears that I really didn't cry the whole time, but it sure felt that way to me. Somewhere in the next month or so, I chose someone as a sponsor. And she's been a part of my life for the majority of the past 37 years. Come the 2nd of February, it will be 38 years if I'm fortunate. Yeah. I feel so blessed because that truly was the beginning of me having a life, of beginning to, oh my God, to have hope again. About 6 months after I came into Al-Anon, I remember about, I guess maybe 2 months after I came into Al-Anon, the person, of course, I was living with, needless to say, was an active alcoholic and drug addict, go figure. And I said, I'm going to a meeting tonight, and I can remember vividly him literally standing, because of course I'm 5'2", so he was, leaning over me. It felt like he was like 2 inches from my head. I'm sure he really wasn't, but it felt that way. And I remember him just standing there yelling at me, telling me I couldn't go, that people would think that he had a problem. And all I kept doing was standing there saying, I'm not going for you, I'm going for me. I'm miserable. I can't stand living the way I'm living. I can't stand feeling the way I'm feeling. I go there because I need help. I can't stand my life anymore. And I walked out of the room. And I kept going to Al-Anon. And I kept going to Al-Anon. And I kept going to Al-Anon. And there was this old guy there. We called him Old Jim. I have no idea what his actual name was, but we called him Old Jim. His wife in the program in AA was called the Colonel. So that should give you some idea of the relationship. But old Jim used to sit there. He'd been in Al-Anon probably since Al-Anon was created, and he used to say things like, we're sicker than they are. After all, they have an excuse. What's ours? And I would get so pissed at him. What do you mean I'm sick? And I would be so angry with him. He would say stuff like, we're the ones who stay up at 2 a.m. wondering where they are when they're out having a good time, and we're sitting there worried, who's really got the problem here? And we're doing it stone cold sober. It took me a while to not have an attitude with him because, of course, I was in major denial. All of my problems were because of the person in my life. And about 2 years into Al-Anon, I began to realize how wise and smart this man really was, because he's right. You scrape away addiction and you've got codependency every time. Because my codependency was about how I grew up. It was about my beliefs about myself, because I never felt like I was really good enough. I was always afraid to show who I really was. That had nothing to do with the person that I lived with. I had that before I ever met them. Old Jim was blunt, but eventually he got through this thick skull of mine, that my problems were not other people, they were me. They were my spiritual destitution was the ultimate problem. My emptiness that I didn't know how to feel. My inability to care and truly love myself. My dependence on trying to find that and get that from other people, to get their approval so that I could feel special, so that I could feel like for just a minute that I was okay. And eventually, through all the love and support I got in Al-Anon, they were there to love me when I had no clue, God knows, no clue how to do that for myself. And I guess it was about maybe 9 months or so after coming into Al-Anon. I remember vividly, this is one of those miracle moments. I remember I was just, oh my God, my heart was just, I was just in so much pain. I knew this relationship was toxic. I could not bring myself to walk away. I couldn't do it. I knew it was killing me. I knew that it felt like there was this battle, because this part of me that was in Al-Anon, that Al-Anon was nourishing, that wanted to live, that wanted to flourish. And there was this other part of me that felt like it was shriveling up and dying inside. And I couldn't walk away. And I remember this one evening, I was just praying. Oh, we were sitting around, I don't know what we were doing. But I was just praying, and all I could say was, God, please do for me what I can't do for myself. I know I need to leave, but I can't. You've got to do it. I can't do it. And literally, within a matter of a half an hour or less, the man that I lived with said, Shannon, this isn't working. I think we need to go our separate ways. And it was like, Oh, oh my God, thank you. I was just, oh, there was just such a relief in my heart. And I said, I think you're right. And within a week, I found a place, moved out, and there was still stuff there, unresolved stuff. I had amends that I needed to make because I kept trying to change him, trying to make him into the person I needed him to be so that I could be okay. And of course, that didn't work real well. He was resistant to that. I don't know why, but he was. And so there was still, and actually to this day, I just actually had an email or a text message about a week or so ago. A mutual friend of ours from back there that I had known for 40 years has recently passed away. So we had communicated regarding our mutual friend passing away. So he's still someone that periodically is in the peripheral of my life. That moment, if I ever needed to be convinced, and I have to say I did, that there was a power greater than my ego, that was the moment, because God did for me what I could not do for myself. And since that time, I've done my best to try to, to live these steps and these principles in all my affairs. My life is, oh my God, I mean, I cannot tell you how different it is today. I was able to make amends to my daughter within 2 years of being in Al-Anon. My daughter made the decision that she wanted to come back and live with me, which was a miracle. That would have never happened, I don't think, if I had not been in Al-Anon, because Al-Anon helped me change me. In fact, my daughter, when she was maybe about 18 or so, 18, 20, made a comment to me one time that the best thing I ever did for her was go into Al-Anon. Because I became a person that she felt safe with. I became a person who could be present for her. I became a person who was capable again of expressing my love for her. Because I was learning slowly but surely how to take care of me, how to fill myself up, how to nourish myself, how to maybe a little bit think that I was worth loving, because I certainly never had felt that way. And so my daughter came back to live with me, and I was given a second chance to be a mom, for which I will again forever be grateful, because if left on my own, that would have never happened. Another miracle and gift that the program has given me. Today, I have a husband who is also in recovery. I have 2 stepdaughters, and I have 4 grandchildren. I have a pretty new grandson that I'm excited about. And the only grandson I have, everybody else are girls. We're very heavy in estrogen in my family. And I'm able to be there. I'm able to really love them and nurture them and say, you're awesome just the way you are. You don't need to be any way other than how you are. And I was never able to do that. I unfortunately couldn't do that with my own daughter. I wasn't there then. I wasn't at the same place when she was young that I am now. So I have much more to give away than I had when my daughter was growing up. And those are some amends that I continue to make living amends for. But today, today the program, the 12 steps of recovery, I was listening to, how it works, and no truer words have I ever heard, because there's every day more about me gets exposed to me. Just this past week, there have been moments in which I was able to see another layer of my pain that hasn't yet healed from when I was a child, and how I have done my best to push it away, how I've done my best through, one of the best places to hide in the world, folks, is to be a counselor. It gives you great skills and great ways in which you can hide and justify it, But this program demands that I show up and be me. that I share not what I learned at school, but what the program is teaching me in my own life. And rigorous honesty truly is huge, because I can only heal what I'm willing to reveal. As Sam Orr used to say in his lectures all the time, what we resist persists, and what we reveal heals. Well, in order to reveal it, I've got to be willing to be rigorously honest. And let me tell you, folks, that's just as much of a challenge for me as it is for anybody. Because there's stuff I don't always want to look at when it wants to show itself either. A good example of that was my husband became disabled, I don't know, maybe 12 or so years ago. And I stayed pissed at him for about 2 years. I was so pissed at him. And it was all his fault that my retirement was being screwed up. Because we moved down here to Asheville, North Carolina, and we were going to go hiking, and we were going to go backpacking, and we were going to have all this great fun here in the mountains. Son of a bitch, if he didn't, oh, excuse me, but doggone if he didn't develop emphysema. How dare he? And I was so pissed at him, so pissed at him. And truly, it took me probably a good 1.5 to 2 years to finally let that go and really start looking at what was that about for me. And really start seeing that was about my fear, that because I was going to need, as he got sicker, I was going to need to take care of him more and more. I mean, that's just the nature of emphysema. And my fear was that my codependency, the caretaking, not the taking care of, but the caretaking, would consume my life again. And so I blamed him. Rigorous honesty was not where I was at in that moment of time. But again, through seeking through prayer and meditation, as the 11th step tells us, as I continue to throw rocks in our creek bed here, as well as do some other things that I have taught others to do. I actually did some of those things, and was able to eventually let go of my anger and my fear, because I realized that taking care of him was not the same thing as caretaking. And so now I'm able to do for him simply because I love him, not because I feel obligated to him. And in those moments when I feel that codependency sense of obligation rear its head again, I let him know, and I go and I do what I need to do to work through that again. Because, if I can't do it out of love, I'm not willing to put him or me through the resentments that would grow if I do it out of my codependency. That would be cruel to him and to me. And I'm just not willing to live like that anymore. And so my life continues to be challenged. Working a program continues to be a challenge. My willingness to be really honest about, where I am in any given moment continues to be challenged, because truly we never stop working the program. At least I don't know how to stop it, because I know, or I believe, that if I make the choice to ever stop it, I will do nothing but regress back. And I honestly don't believe I could live through the depths of my codependency again. I just don't believe I could do it. I truly, in my heart, believe it would kill me. So, happy, joyous, and free, not every day, to say the least, but a heck of a lot more than I ever have in my life. I mean, today I've got people in my life that just love me, that just love me, for which I'm incredibly grateful. Today I get to be a grandmother that I get to be the kind of grandmother I always wish I'd had. I get to just love them the way they are. And I wasn't capable of doing that 37 years ago. I wasn't capable of doing it. Well, let me rephrase that. I wasn't capable of doing it 37 years ago. And if I were not doing my best to live this program, I wouldn't be capable of doing that now. The gratitude oh my God, the gratitude I have for the people that have come into my life as a result of this program, both the people I've been privileged to know over the years as being a counselor, as an addictions counselor, because all of y'all have made such an impact in my life. It's kept me on my toes because I need to be real if I'm going to say, you need to be real, you know. The gratitude I have for the miracles that just keep happening in my life. I was texting with one of my granddaughters who's going through some issues and checking on her, seeing how she's doing. She's in counseling. And she said, how are you, Granny? So I told her, I said, well, I've got some of my old anger and some of my old pain is showing up. And, you know, I've sat with it and I know that's what I need to do. But the other day I got tired of it. So I shoved some food in my mouth to make it go away. And I said, it's probably not the best way of handling it, but that's what I did. And I put an LOL in the text and I said, that's probably more than you actually wanted to know, honey. She texted me back going, no, Granny, that's awesome to hear. I'm so glad that you're sharing it with me because I so often think you got your act together. It's nice to know that you're dealing with the same stuff I am. I said, that's right, because that's what we're all dealing with. You know, we're all just dealing with our humanity and all of the crap that comes with that, because that's ultimately what codependency is really all about. You know, those fears that maybe we're really not okay. That maybe we're really not good enough, that maybe there really is something not quite right. And through grace, we begin to learn that that's not true. You know, that we are so much more than the crazy thoughts that go on in our head. That we're so much more than just the mistakes we've made in our lives. That those mistakes, no matter what they are not irredeemable. And that we are loved by a power so much bigger than our egos. A power that has no demands that we be other than anything but what we are. And for that, I am grateful, and I would not have that without the program. So thank you. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of this tonight. I really, really appreciate it a whole lot. Thank you so much. And thank you for having been through here, and for not everybody certainly, but for many of you, thank you for the gifts that you've given me. I so appreciate it.